everyone, Joe here from ActionX. Welcome to What's in the Tube, and welcome back. It's your 18th, technically 19th, and final Matlock Season 1 episode review. We are here, the season finale. It's a little earlier than normal. You know, I think normally network televisions, I kind of abided by like the traditional September to May time slot. However, this season being more like October to April. You know what? It's a tighter season. I prefer that. Honestly, if there was more breaks in the season, I probably would have forgotten because I have a very short-term memory nowadays, but with everything going on in my life. But however, here we are, the final episode of Matlock. This was a big one, 2 hours long. 2 hours. Now, that's not the first time I've seen like a two-part finale. It's not the first time I've seen it in the near 10 years I've been watching modern television since Age of the Shield. But for me, no, it's very it's crazy. It's crazy for me to imagine the fact that we finished the first season of Matlock, and I only want to say that was amazing. Like, bravo. They landed the ship in a way that it concluded a portion of the story. It kind of told its story independently in season 1. And I can't, well, first of all, I cannot wait to talk more about the entirety of season 1 in a non-spoiler capacity, of course, in a couple weeks from now. But the fact that this episode fucking nailed it. Pardon my French. I don't usually curse on this sub-series because it is a TV-14 show, but I'm like, they nailed it. They really did. Like, they made me believe that, they made me feel emotions. Okay, when we wrapped that first episode back in, well, for me, October, for most of y'all, September, I went into that thinking, there is no way that this show was going to impress me. I don't know, like, you know, it had a really great cast. There was just something about it that didn't really, like, seep into me. And then I stupidly forgot that the showrunner for the show did Jane the Virgin, which I love so much. I think it's one of the, not in my top 10 preferably of all time favorite shows, which of course includes different mediums. But at least for here, that this was their follow-up. And this finale just, it incrementally taught me more and paid off a lot of things that we've been watching so far since we came from that first episode. And now also, obviously, teeing the bridge for season 2, which I'm so thankful that it got renewed for season 2, because if the show was not a hit in that first few episodes, and we got this and we were still waiting for that renewal, I'd be pissed. I'd be freaking pissed, because there's no way you're going to leave it off like that. Like, you know, it's curious to see that, you know, this you know, considering the fact, again, from the Jane the Virgin perspective, my hair's all screwed up, I apologize. From that perspective, it took 5 seasons to kind of tell that story. We'll take in this case the same, I don't know, really. It really depends on just how, how things go. But the fact is that they managed to continue telling the story, and that this, again, works as kind of a season concluder, and also as I would say this will probably take like another season to tell the story. I don't think they're going to stretch it out as too far as it did. I could be wrong. I trust her so much that I know she made 100 chapters work, and it made it right, even with a mid-set point in the middle of the show. Which, if she does this to this show, I have so many theories about that, but that'll be more if we get to season 3 next year. But honestly, no, that'll be next week. We'll talk about future stuff, the whole season, in a couple of weeks from now. But for now, this finale was amazing. It was near perfect. It did everything it did to kind of conclude everyone's story arcs in a way, and also teeing up for what's next. And I think what they're going to do next is going to be exciting, but at the same time, they managed to not only keep the core through line of the show intact, somehow, like, again, somehow, I literally thought we weren't going to, like, you know, get to that point. I literally thought not. But the fact now is that, again, like, we're so ready I'm so ready for season 2. I really wish season 2 was like, I really wish I had discovered, if I wasn't reviewing the show, I wish I would have discovered Matlock, later on as we were getting season 2, so that I could just immediately go into it. I don't even know if they had started production yet. I don't know any of that. Again, I'll talk more about season 2 next week, but like, the fact is this episode was amazing, and it made me want the next episode now, which, again, that team is going to take all the time he needs. Totally respect that. Tell that story. Get to work. But for the time being, I This was an amazing episode. This was really amazing. It was well worth 2 hours. It told a straight through line. It was like a mini movie, and it did its job. It ended the season properly, and it made you want season 2 now. So with that being said, let's go for the Butcher recap of our Matlock season 1 finale. So we begin kind of where we left off last week, where Olympia is at the Kingston residence, looking at the crime board, kind of baffled that, like, so the last 7 months I've known you, you've done all this. You looked at my photo every single day, looked at all of your associates, and justified what you're doing. And obviously, I'm still on terms like that. Hey, look, you're here for a reason. So it's clear as day you're at least intrigued by what I'm saying, which he's not denying. But the fact of the matter is that even though Olympia is kind of seeing a bit of truth into Maddie's words, there was still of what's going on here. It doesn't still make sense really, and for her. But she's still willing to clear Julian's name. Still willing to do her best to prove Maddie wrong. They're like, okay, maybe she has a point that okay, there is the missing documents. 100% that's missing. But it doesn't necessarily have to be Julie. It could just have been Cedar's assistant. That was another angle we haven't even explored yet. But the fact of the matter, despite Olympia and Julian's current divorce status, she still kind of sees a little bit of a goodness in him, that she doesn't believe that he could be responsible for this. But Maddie's like, look, the only way we're going to progress on this matter, we need his bank records. The brownstone was purchased very suddenly. It was a closing deal saving move. That money came around the same time as he picked up those documents. So there has to be a correlation there. And Olympia's like, okay, fine. I will reach out and check the banks at home right now. I will call you when I do. And Maddie's like, nope, I got your laptop right here. And it's like, again, another payoff moment from earlier in the season where Maddie did all that elaborate scheming just to get the laptop. And like I said, here we are now, experiencing the consequences where I'm pretty sure the first thing she thought of, motherfucker. This motherfucker made me have this another life-changing moment where I was never going to have a recording of my dad's voice again. And that was the clavicle. So she tries to log in. Of course, obviously, Julian kicked her out of the account since the divorce. So now there's no way they can access the finances, but Olympia will find some other way in the morning after, again, they just did a massive night court case. They're really tired. They're just going to get some siesta, let the business day conclude, and then they'll jump back in it the next day when we pick it up there. I believe we just cut to the next day suddenly. Actually, no, there was one scene where Billy and Sarah were still progressing. Sarah's kind of is back on her morals since she finally broke up with her girlfriend. Well, her girlfriend, finally. After they had one more night of passionate lovemaking. And then... yeah, so then there's the breaks there. But however, Billy is struggling with his own breakup as he has to break it to his fellow peer that they can no longer proceed with their closet hookups. That it's very much just going to be strictly professional from here on, as well as Sarah still kind of navigating the secret client she picked up behind the ways to kind of still establish her own solo career away from Jacobson Moore, but that's still, something that Billy does not believe is going to end well, and will not end well. We'll get to more about that in a minute. We're back at the house, so, and obviously, Maddie's husband is still not 100% certain that Olympia's totally on board, but of course, obviously, Maddie's still in her kind of her fantasy zone. She's just like, no. She is definitely 100% on her side. She looked at everything. She believes in us that she's going to come through. It's going to take some time, obviously, but we're going to get there. We're going to get there. And it's going to take a little bit more time. We cut to the properly into the firm where Olympia's kind of getting herself psyched up to okay, how am I going to get the access to the finances? How am I going to get there? And then Senior all of a sudden comes over and finds her by the elevator. He escorts her to the one of the boardrooms, which apparently is a big surprise party, as officially Olympia is officially the one who's going to be the new partner for Jacobson Moore, beating out Julian. Which is a little bit concerning about, again, it was just expected that Julian would get the role, but no, it was Olympia. Everyone's celebrating, drinking champagne at 9 a.m. in the morning. I'm just like, I don't get it. I feel like my equivalent, because I stopped drinking like I think over a year ago now. Um, I believe the closest equivalent I can see is like, if you're drinking soda at like 8 a.m. in the morning, like that'd be like, I don't know, like the fact of drinking soda at 8 in the anytime before noon is just like, no. Anytime after noon is okay. It is what it is by that point. Actually, maybe on a vacation I probably had a Diet Coke for a brunch or something. Either way, the point stands is that Olympia got the job. Great news all around, and apparently it was Senior, despite her and Senior not getting along over the ending of the slam case. He does realize that Olympia is a very powerful lawyer. She can get the job done. She will get the job done. And that is an aspect that he is missing for his team. And that he doesn't want her ending up in another firm or starting up her own firm. He wants her right here at this firm. So he vouched for her at the golden hour, which, of course, obviously begs the question, does Julie know? Which, at least at this point, he does not. He does not know anything about it. He will tell him after he's done with his morning meeting. But until then, only Olympia knows, which, again, Olympia is feeling a bit torn, considering the fact that she should be celebrating this massive accomplishment, but at the same time, she's also got to, investigate her own husband to see if he did this very illegal, immoral activity. Then I want to say, I don't think Maddie comes in yet. I think, Sarah has to go take care of her client. I know Billy goes into their little office where the peer is there with a very nice croissant breakfast sandwich, which I'm just like, croissant breakfast sandwiches kind of sounds good right now, but I've been eating a lot of bread lately, so I should cut down on that. Where Billy kind of breaks the news to her to he's just not looking for anything serious. He just got out of a relationship. He does a very serious, committed relationship. That's not really the next step for him to be taking. Obviously, she does not take it the right way. She gets mad at him, assuming that Sarah's involved in this, which Billy's like, no, Sarah had no influence whatsoever in my decision. And then during that entire conversation, Sarah keeps calling him. And I'm just like, Billy, you might as well just silence your phone. I mean, because literally, if you're trying to even keep any sort of friendship with her, it's already out the window, right? As soon as she saw Sarah's name pop up on your phone, it was already too late. Eventually, she storms out. Billy answers the call. Apparently, Sarah needs Billy to come down to the gym of the client she's representing illicitly right now, at this moment. Then I want to say, do we get a meeting with them? I believe so. Yeah. So Maddie meets up with No, wait, no. Do we get that scene yet? I don't believe so. I don't quite remember. I think yeah. No, I think Maddie goes talks to Olympia about the bank, and sadly they are officially locked out of the account. There's nothing they can do. They can't get they cannot guess the password. So the next option is to try and get back into the account by Julian, which ironically he shows up. He kind of asks Matlock to leave, which he does, as he and Olympia does have a conversation where, yeah, Julian already found out he didn't make partner. It was Olympia. He does congratulate her, but he is ignoring his father right now, since despite the lineage that even he knew that he was never going to get, the partner role. He kind of knew deep down that, despite everything he's done, despite being on the most critical, financially driven section of the firm, it still wasn't enough for him to justify making partner. Which that's what he's the most excited about. And obviously Olympia tries to console him a little bit, but also trying to figure it out. Maddie's still keeping a watchful eye just to make sure there's no other secondary conspiracy going around under her corner. But meanwhile, back at the gym, sadly, Billy walks into a crime scene in progress as Sarah's kind of just neutralizing, neutralizing, but neutraling the scene and everything, where she's explaining to him, yeah, so my client did not instigate this murder. He just walked in, they had a fight, they had an altercation, that's what he said, and now the man's dead. And now we're just, and obviously Sarah's freaked out because, again, it's kind of like when you do something you're not supposed to at your job, it happens, and you're kind of like, shit, how do I prevent the big bosses from not notifying this? So Sarah's just trying to make sure Billy knows the exact same orders as, the police are about to start coming in. Billy calls in Maddie for a third opinion. Sarah, meanwhile, is trying to act like his attorney as the cops are obviously interrogating him. Then the cuffs are put on him, as well as Sarah maintaining I'm his attorney. You should not speak. Wait till we get to the proper place, so then you can speak and tell your story. And obviously, this being Sarah's first real time, especially with it being a crime in progress, she's not entirely fit for this. She really isn't. Um, then Maddie has no choice but to loop Olympia in. They meet at the courthouse. Olympia is softly berating Sarah for doing this. The fact that, this is like, not even less than not even less than an hour she made partner already. She's got one of her teammates having an issue that she's got to go clean up. Which again, Olympia will attempt to pass this along to a public defender so that at least that there could be an opportunity for Sarah to still get penalized and for this guy to still have his own case aside from this. However, during court, while Olympia is trying to present and trying to pass along the chain of responsibility to a public defender, the judge was very adamant. It's like, well, we could do that, but Sarah literally said right here that she was his attorney. She gave her card to an official. He was very assertive by it. So, I mean, for me, she is the attorney, and I will not dismiss the case to another public defender. It will be Sarah that will be presenting. He lets Olympia go for the preliminary stuff, but other than that, the next time they show up in court, Sarah's going to be the one presenting the case, and that's all he wants. He does not want to see Olympia there on the front desk, which again, of course, scares Sarah because again, this is her first case, but this is not the way she was expecting it to be. Which again, you never really have a proper first case. You never really do. So then we go back to the office. This time, Olympia does yell at Sarah for what she did about, this was completely unethical. You shouldn't have done this. Now we're in the middle of a jam, and this is all on you. This is your kid. I'm not helping you. What you're going to do is you got till tomorrow to figure out what is your legal strategy. How can we move to get this guy out of jail? And how the heck are we going to get out of this predicament? And since Billy also knew about it prior, he's going to also get subjugated to this punishment too by also participating and helping her out for the next 24 hours. Maddie tries to come at Olympia, but she no longer has brownie points like that. So Olympia goes back to scolding her as well and saying that, okay, well, I'm going to go speak to Julian about possibly getting back on, and that's the best I'm going to be able to do so we can move on from this. Maddie gives her a couple of tips on how to properly get information out of someone that's a little bit more sensitive, that's a little bit more conversationable, by including something else that will also impact him emotionally. That's something that will be like, okay, all of his brain power is on this one thing you just mentioned to him. Now go in for the main thing. So in Olympia's case, considering the fact that Olympia, by the way, this is a very flashback-driven episode. We had a lot of moments from the first season so far about stuff that Maddie has done, and now teaching Olympia, where Olympia's like, oh shit, now I'm seeing this from a different context. You were using this trick on me, and so I feel like the more Maddie admits to the activities she's done, it does hurt Olympia a little bit more, since the fact of the matter is that that she was subjugated to that, not illicitly, but still very much she was kind of being used like that. So she uses the same thing on Julian, this time using his own father against him, which does gets an emotional reaction out of Julian, which prompts him to okay, let me see what I can do. But sadly, well, it worked to an extent that he put her back on the accounts. It does not actually assist with actually figuring out whether or not he did get a payout from hiding the documents. So from this point onwards, Maddie pets at another solution, maybe you could try talking to his mother to get the confirmation. That's kind of where Olympia kind of okay, wow, you're really going to allow me to go after my ex-mother-in-law to get this information that benefits us, that benefits you, basically. And Maddie's like, hey, look, is this a suggestion? I try not to hurt people, try not to get the wrong people involved, but at the end of the day, I have a goal. I'm reaching that goal, and I will do what I can to mitigate the damage. But certain points, if there's going to be damage, it is what it is. And Maddie does give Olympia an ultimatum, if you don't figure this out by tomorrow, I will just go to the post. You'll never see me again. I will drop all the evidence I have so far, and they can handle their own investigation from there. So I believe she leaves, and then Olympia kind of goes back to kind of figure out what the next play here, while Sarah and Bill are kind of up against Schitt's Creek, trying to figure out this this whole debacle, basically speaking. We come back to the household where I believe they're having dinner. I think they're having dinner where Maddie's still very confident that that Olympia will still go for with the mom thing. It's very likely that this is the only angle she could play to really guaranteed that, like, yeah, Julie is guilty or not. Her husband's still very much hesitant by it, same with Alfie, but, like, they start talking about, like, well, either way, we'll be done with this soon, and we can start planning the next thing, which when they get to bed, they can start going to sleep. Edwin, which I finally remember the freaking husband's name. After 18 episodes, I finally remember it. In which he says that, he's already starting to get the ground running on getting ready to go back to normal. Obviously, again, this was not their life. They've been here in secret. And the fact of the matter is now that Edwin is ready to sell the house for them to go back to California and to resume their lives properly. To continue Alfie growing up in his home state for the last 14 years, as well as for Maddie and him to go back to proper retirement. Which Maddie's hearing all this, but there's a part of her that's like, no, I don't want that, actually. She actually wants to still be a lawyer. She still wants to be working. But that kind of, how do you bring that up when your husband is like already like sprouting out the next few things for them to do, like once they get back to like how things were beforehand? Sarah sends out something for Maddie to review. It's the same, I think it's a dissertation that Olivia requested for the next day. So Maddie goes over to review it, taking the time to check it out, and then she kind of looks into the Jacobson Moore website, where her official lawyer page went live not too long ago, which again gives her great joy that this is a major accomplishment for her, and she starts remembering so far everything she's done so far in her brief career at Jacobson Moore, and the fact that she actually really cares about it, despite it all being an act, it actually kind of made her really realize what is actually important for her, what's next for her. And then I believe we cut to the next morning properly, where Sarah and Billy are still reviewing everything, and they're still kind of, figuring things out. Billy does let slip in the meantime that, oh yeah, so I kind of also been hooking up with my ex. The one that broke his heart on Valentine's Day. And that's when Sarah's like, are you serious, my dude? And Billy's like, well, it's just for the moments we're lonely, we text each other, and sometimes it happens, just like the physical connection of it. And, Sarah doesn't support it, obviously, but she's not really much for one, and they decide they can, continue focusing on the case that matter. Finally, finishing their notes, giving it to Olympia, who does say it's okay. It has definite room for improvement, but it's okay for the time being. Then Maddie comes in with some more good news. Apparently, that the autopsy report came out. It was not actually a head trauma that killed him. It was actually a broken appendix. So hopefully they'll be able to do everything to throw this case out, because there is no manslaughter here. It was just a simple medical thing that just happened. However, sadly, Sarah does get a call from the ADA, who lets her know, like, yeah, about that. So apparently, the wife of the deceased actually put secret cameras in the gym. So she has the entire confrontation of the fight on video. And it does prove that actually the guy that's being charged now punched him in the appendix area. So now his argument is that the punch was strong enough to break his appendix. So now Sarah has a whole new fight to deal with that's only just been doubled down. So now she's extremely worried on what can be done now to to get herself out of this, because now the well has been dug even more deeper. They go to meet up with the client in the jail, in which he's just expressing the fact that they've had issues. Sure, they're friends. Like, you're gonna have issues, especially when people say they never do business with friends. But like the fact that they've had issues, but like he always loved him and his family. That like he would never do anything like basically going out of his way to hurt him, to damage him. And the fact that in this case, it sadly did happen. Now he's kind of like and also saying to the fact that that you can love someone, but at the same time you also have other things in the back of your mind as well. And obviously that's, again, most of these cases are kind of like paralleling what the main Jacobson Moore group are going through. So especially in this case where Maddie's kind of subvertly telling Olympia, hey, I know I had ulterior motives for being here, but my friendship was real. There was a real core to it. And Olympia's like, nah, trust is easily broken. Which I'm just like, damn, these two need to really fight it out right now. Um, so I believe from there, so I believe, yes, but it's still Sarah's case, so she still needs to figure out a way to get out of this. Uh, there has to be some way. So Sarah and Billy go back to the gym, trying to build up some character witnesses to maybe at least try to alleviate that this was just a self-defense thing, trying to paint the deceased as like a very violent person, but sadly everyone they talk to doesn't really help out with that imagery. They go to the receptionist at the gym, trying to see if there's anything additional, maybe a different angle. She does mention that there was a previously former member that did back out after multiple years of service. For an unknown reason, that could potentially be a secondary option. The wife shows up. The wife shows up, very disgruntled the fact that that these lawyers are here at the place her husband died, trying to basically get evidence to basically get her his supposed killer out of prison, which she's not really happy about. I believe, yeah, Olympia does agree with Matt. Okay, fine. I made him visit with my former mother-in-law. We're meeting tonight. I will call you if there's any new information possible. So that's all they can really do right now. All they can wait and see about, basically. I believe, yeah, Olympia does meet up with her former mother-in-law. They have dinner with the kids, while Julian finally has a one-on-one with his dad, which Julian just said, yeah, no, I'm done. There's nothing I can do more, because every time that I believe we're making progress, we're not. We're always like, three steps back, one step forward. Like it's never going to the pace of like, and Julia always just believed if he put a lot of money into the firm, that he showcased his work ethic, then maybe that would be enough to finally gain his dad's seal of approval. But the fact that for him, his dad picked his ex-wife over him, his own son, and again, obviously, it should be on the merit of your work, not on who your family relatives are. But he still feels sorry for the fact that he put in a lot of work into the firm. He did a lot to prove himself for, and it did nothing for him. Senior tries to explain to him, but it doesn't work. Julian is going to leave the firm, finally. That he's done. He's done with this. But we'll get to more about that later on. So during the meeting, Olympia tries to get more information about the trust fund opening around the same time the brownstone was purchased, which the mom seems like she doesn't really remember everything 100%, so I think she's just confirming and just trying to get the answers out, just kind of like a willy-nilly thing. But thankfully, Olympia tries to get a couple more sensitive information out, because these are password-related questions, such as what was your first dog, what's the mom's maiden name, etc. But yeah, no, so thankfully she got that information, and that's sadly the only thing that they can do now is to possibly just go to the bank, pretend that her and Julian are going to do a joint review of every assets, and that maybe we could just pretend that Julian is just running late and something like that, so to allow Olympia to look at it solo. That's really the only angle that she can think of right now to possibly get inside there and figure out what the heck's really going on. Maddie also is, I think, reviewing something for work. I think Sarah does call her up for a little bit of advice about what to do next. Sarah does giving Sarah the idea of like possibly like going to the gym and seeing if there's anything that can assist them whatsoever. Maybe there's like one more clue in there that could possibly be a saving grace for them. At the same time, I know Sarah and Billy continue talking about just where things are at, and Sarah owes Billy big time for dragging him in the middle of this. Even she promises that she will do whatever now to pay back Billy to gain his forgiveness back, allowing Billy to go home and like actually catch up with some sleep. Maddie is cornered by Edwin, where Edwin lets her know that there's going to be an open house for the mansion soon, and that that he would recommend for her to take down the crime board so they can make it all nice and presentable for the prospectful people. I believe, I don't know if the argument happens. I think the argument happens after this. So Maddie's taking down the crime board piece by piece, having flashbacks of all her memories with that individual person, kind of culminating in her taking down everything and putting a picture of her husband and Ellie on the board, as just a sign of like where the core heart of this case, of this investigation led to, letting everyone know that it's done. But Maddie does tell Edwin the truth that while she will return back to San Francisco, while she will leave behind the newfound friends she did make here, she's going to continue law when they get back. That is something she wants. That is something she needs, considering the fact that for most of her life, ever since Ellie died, she's been invisible. She's never really been presently noticed by anyone. She's always kind of been ignored, and that she's tired of it. She really is. And being at Jacobson Moore, despite it not being of a proper intention, it still very much gave her the avenue of like, I can be someone. Like, being in that courtroom was what I want to do. At least have another go at it. Whether that is for another 2 years, another 5 years, another maybe even 10 years. Like, that's where she wants to do. And Edwin's like, no. Like, all Edwin was like hoping for things to get back to where they were, to go back and be in their golden years where they're still in decently able condition to do stuff, to raise Alfie, to make sure he goes off to college all properly. And man said, yeah, we'll still do that, but Edwin still got to have a full career after Ellie died to pay the bills. And Maddie took a leave of absence from work because she couldn't handle it anymore. She couldn't deal with the aspect of being outside and be in public anymore after all that. She couldn't handle it. But now after all this, like, she's ready to be out there. She's ready to help people. She's ready to get back in the courthouse. Like, that's all she wants to do now. And Edwin's like, well, what are you going to do if I say no? So they leave it there. I know Sarah is at the gym. She peruses all the documents. I do know there's another scene where Olympia, I forgot there was a little victory scene where, like, Olympia does tell Maddie that, like, yeah, she's going to 100% go with whatever Maddie's planning to get the information she wants, but don't believe that they're forgiven. It's just a means to an end. So I want to say, yeah, so Billy shows up, is helping Sarah look through the files, and then during one of the drawer pulls, he hits Sarah in the mouth, which sadly cracks her teeth. Which I'm just like, oh no, like, I'm like, my teeth? Yeah, no, that's a big no. So yeah, so from there, yeah, so sadly, yeah, so Sarah's kind of screwed right now. She does find something, but at the same time, she loses something, which I'm just like, I feel sorry for her. I really, really do. So I believe from there we get over back to the next morning where Sarah's already at the courthouse. Maddie has another one-on-one with Olympia about just how things are, and also apologizing the fact that she kind of led Sarah to this moment, considering the fact that she does tell Olympia that when Olympia gave Maddie the responsibility to decide between Billy or Sarah who was going to handle that specific case, it was supposed to be for Sarah. Then she gave it to Billy to cover her act, so this is all on Maddie's fault. So to kind of, still be lenient on Sarah, to, like, give her an opportunity to, like, kind of, allow herself to, like, not look at this as, like, this is a make or break case. It's just a stepping stone in her career. So Olympia does talk to Sarah about it. She does calm her down, like, letting her know, like, I'm sorry if I treated you harshly. I do believe in you. You have the potential to be a great lawyer. Obviously, this thing can never happen again, but you're going to get through this. You're going to do the best you can, and that's all that matters, whether you win or not. Then Sarah's just prancing back and forth at the courthouse, just waiting for her debut trial to kick in. Also, a couple of random things I forgot to mention throughout. Billy gets a bunch of calls from his ex, but he continues to ignore her. Did we get any more senior stuff? I don't believe so. No. So the plan from Maddie and Olympia's plan is still continuing. The plan is to do it during the trial, allowing them to kind of, make or break this. Then we get to the courthouse. Sarah's kind of pantering back and forth, again, nervous for her first big debut trial. Olympia gives her some last pieces of comments and advice as she heads in. It's a bit slower. It takes a little time to really get into it, but Sarah does approach more of a storytelling device to kind of, tell her arguments, to be able to, like, get first to the jury and explain what the matter at hand here. Once she finishes up her opening statement, Olympia gets a call from the bank. Apparently, the banker that was going to be dependent on this matter sadly called out. And with the sitter being sick and everything, Olympia has no choice but to go in now to get this arranged. Maddie's like, no, we need to do this together. And Olympia's like, no, you said you still trust me. Trust me. I want to find out about this too. So please let me go. Let me do this by myself. Let me get the answers we need. Please, trust me. And then Maddie gets a little like sideways where like she thinks about like the same advice that she gave to Olympia, where like Maddie's like, oh, you using this advice too against me. This is not good. This is really not good. But it's assumed Maddie says, okay, you know what? Meet me at my house at 4 o'clock. We will convene there. Whatever you find, whether it puts Julian 100% into the crime or it acquits him, it doesn't matter. We will meet there as a sign that you are willing to continue forward with this matter. Sarah continues along with the case. The prosecutor bringing up an expert analysis that says that it's a possibility because how sensitive the appendix is, and with the guy being a boxer, it was very possible that the punch did actually kill him, most likely. I believe they next call over the wife of the deceased to the stand, trying to explain the story. She paints the picture of like this guy was, like it's jealousy, rivalry, it's all about money, it's all that sort of like, to kind of, still frame it as like this was a petty, jealous case. And that's when Sarah reveals her secret weapon, which is that she found out apparently that the deceased was taking experimental supplements, which was giving him very negative side effects, which went very unnoticed to everyone else besides him. That all his cries for help were left ignored, and that, he tried to, like, he did take a break, but he went back on them, which I'm just like, dude, if you notice that this is the thing, why would you go back on it? Like, you kind of, I'm not trying to say anything mean about it, but just like, if you know something's bad for you, you feel it in your heart, why do you still take it? Like, why? And he's reading these documented comment boards that he sent back to the manufacturer about it, which kind of led into like the day before in which he was feeling the worst, which even if the punch was, accidental or, was purposeful, it still was only increased because of the sensitive nature of the appendix, which led to his death. So meaning it wasn't the guy's fault 100%, it was just mainly that the supplements weakened it to the point where like any simple punch would have basically destroyed it. Which again, it does suck in that matter. After that's over, the judge needs to intervene in court, bringing in Sarah and the AD aside to kind of talk to them. Maddie and Billy are kind of consulting the suspected. The person, the man, I don't know his name. I forgot the terminology for it. Meanwhile, during all this, Olympia, it goes into to the bank in order to get the information she needs. Again, pivoting to the fact that Julian is not going to be coming. Pretending Maddie's husband, Edwin, to pretend to be Julian for a moment. To just fake it, which, again, is super passable, which I'm just like, damn, this man does not clearly match the voice, but it is what it is, sadly, with that front. So with all that said, Olympia does manage to get access to the files. She looks at all the records, and she calls Maddie to confirm that Julian had no sort of payment, and that the money was fair. It came from the fund. That's how they paid for the brownstone, and that was it. That's all they wrote. So yeah. At least on paper, from a financial perspective, Julian did not get paid off to take the Well-Brexit documents, which, at one end, it does showcase for Maddie that she can trust Olympia fully on this matter. And at the same time, Olympia is also happy considering the fact her ex-husband is not a criminal. So now Olympia will move forward by performing her own investigation against Senior and see where that can go with that knowledge. So she's about to wrap it up. The charges are dropped. The accused is now the innocent again, and the wife and him make up as they decide maybe they can form their own business venture moving forward in honor of their fallen loved one. Even Billy and Maddie looking from across the distance like, yeah, well, I guess no matter how damaged a relationship is, there is a possibility it could always bounce back. It could take some time, could take right away, it could take years, but it somehow always bounces back. So I believe from there, Olympia's ready to call it out. She's ready to go home, and we're ready to go to Maddie, and and get back to it to kind of continue the investigation in a new direction. However, the banker does tell Olivia, "Oh, you're done with the financial books. Great. Do you want to see the safe deposit box before you go?" And Olivia's like, "Why, yes, that was my last thing on my agenda." So she takes her there. She takes out the safety deposit box. She opens it up, and she's not happy with the view of it. Meanwhile, we cut back to Jacob some more while everything's going on, where everyone's giving now Sarah her own congratulations drink over the success of her first real case. As while everyone's celebrating, Billy is also celebrating as well. For some reason, her client immediately just decides to tag along, which I'm just like, my dude, wouldn't you be more worried about going home, taking a fresh shower, being clean? And that's when the person that Billy rejected kind of goes back behind her. It's like, oh, wow, you were Sarah's first big win. That's great. How did you get in touch with Sarah? Sarah's kind of got to go through Olympia. So how'd you get this case? And that's kind of where she starts pitting her and like, okay, this woman's out for revenge now. She's out for revenge. Then Billy gets sidetracked because apparently his ex is also there as well. So he pulls her aside, kind of gets it all out of the way. He's like, look, it was fun, the hookups, but I realize why we didn't work out together, that, that it's for the best, that maybe we officially 100% split up, no more contact with each other. And then that's when she dropped the ball, like, I'm pregnant. We're pregnant. And I'm just like, oh no, Billy. You need protection. You always need protection when you don't know. Man, oh, Billy, what have you done? Then Olympia does confirm that, yes, it is the Wellbrexta file. And all of a sudden, Julian shows up behind her, obviously shocked the fact that she made this discovery was made. Meanwhile, Maddie's still getting more slack from Edwin to the fact that, Maddie is still supporting Olympia despite all this, that, Edwin doesn't trust her. This is not going to work out the way they want to. And all this is all doing is prolonging the inevitable return to home. That's what it's doing. And he's starting to believe maybe Maddie's doing this on purpose to stay in New York longer. So yeah, Julian outright confesses that yes, he was the one that stole the documents. But it was under Senior's direction. Apparently, apparently Shay found out about the documents, and that because of his existence, the opioids company was not happy about this. This was going to 100% ruin their sales, ruin their investment, and that if this study ever comes out and its timestamp is dated, this is going to 100% confirm that opioids should never been on the market in the first place. And Senior was called over to Australia for an emergency meeting, which, again, even though that we thought that he wasn't there, obviously now, at the time, Julian was doing everything in his possibility to make his dad happy, to do even the most immoralist of actions to be on Daddy's good side. And one of them was, he faked the fire alarm, he took the documents, and he was supposed to shred them, but for some reason he did not. He kept it here at a safety deposit box for nearly 15 years, and he's lived with it ever since. The fact that, he only did this for his dad's approval, and obviously Olympia doesn't believe him. He's like, how do I know you two are not still in cahoots, even to now? And Julie's trying to explain to her, I just quit the firm. I'm no longer there anymore. I just handed in my resignation notice. It's over. I would not be here anymore if it wasn't for him. So we can throw away this document together. We can start over. We can put this all behind us. It didn't hurt anyone in the end. Sure, he did an immoral action, but he is not the same man that he was 14 years ago. And then he's pleading with Olympia, let's throw away this document. Let's start over. Let's move into a new chapter of our life. You get to be partner. I'll do my own thing. This will be a thing of the past. No one gets hurt anymore. And he was but he already knows there had to be someone involved, because Olympia was never looking into this matter prior, so someone else knew. And maybe he knows it's Maddie, maybe it's not. Who really knows 100% speaking? But regardless, that he's giving Olympia a choice that to give up the documents and that they can move forward with this. But we don't know her answer just yet. We return back to the house where Alfie is about to give his own breaking news to Maddie and Edwin, that he did something that may have been a little bit of a lie without their approval, and they're about to pay the consequences for it. The doorbell rings. Maddie assumes it was Olympia, but it's not. It's just a random man. Even I'm confused at first, like, who are you? And then the more I'm thinking about it, it's like, oh no. Um, and yeah, so this man was the same man that was suspected to be Alfie's father. So, Maddie, of course, obviously, this is not the time for a reunion. This is not that time, but it is happening. He's here, and Maddie lets him in because he's there to like, oh, well, if he is my son, I want to be in his life moving forward. So Maddie closes the door to her house, kind of, again, with everything going on, she kind of didn't have much of a choice. And that was it for the first season of Matlock. And I'm just like, you sons of bitches. I wanted to clear. I knew we were going to end on some sort of cliffhanger, but the fact that was the way we ended, I'm like, damn, I want it to be fall right now. I want to know what happens next. I need to know. The fact that I have to wait 5 to 6 months just to find out what the next thing is it's excruciating. But no, honestly, no, like I said before the start, this was by far an amazing episode. It kept you in suspense. The through line was Maddie and Olympia still. This concluded last week's episode where like it kind of puts everything to question mark. Even by the end of it, it's still very much a question mark whether or not they will be able to recover their friendship again. But it does seem like there is a bit of good gesture coming their way with that. That showcases it. Again, also starting new problems with Maddie, with Edwin, Olympia, and Julian, and just the fact of the matter is that it's only just another piece of the larger puzzle. Because, we still don't know what Olympia's going to do. Because, again, does she trust Maddie? Does she want to keep her family sustained? What is she going to do? Because the fact is, we left it like that. Like, it can go anywhere. It really, really could. Seeing Sarah accomplish her first big case was a big win, despite a lot of mistakes, proving the fact that not everyone's going to have a perfect beginning. Sometimes they're going to have a rocky beginning. But the quality of work promises fruit. But now the fact that her rival is trying to do something against her is going to be a whole new challenge for her next season. And Billy possibly being a dad, was expecting that. Was not expecting that whatsoever. Really, really wasn't. But the fact of the matter is that the way this 2 hours ran through and went by nearly perfectly, I didn't even notice the time. I just wanted more. I really, really did. I feel like we could have done some more. Not in a bad way, just in a way of like, I want to see more of these characters. I want to see more of that tension build up, and but the fact of the matter, they still nailed it perfectly, and that's all that can be said by it. So, with all that being said, I'm giving this episode 2 thumbs up. Let me know down below what you think of the season finale of Matlock. Did you love it or did you love it? I would love to hear your thoughts down below as always. But I believe that's going to do it for me today, everyone. So if you're unaware, this has been What's in the Two, reviewing every episode now of the first season of Matlock. If you want to know what we're doing normally, What's in the Two besides our Matlock episode reviews, right now we are doing Suits to Lay episode reviews each and every week after Brandon says on NBC, and we're also doing Rookie episode reviews each and every week after Brandon says on ABC. But if you only care about Matlock, in terms of the new content, this is it. This is the end of Season 1. We will return this fall with Season 2. We will be reviewing each and every episode in Season 2 of Matlock. So we will return. So do not worry. We will pick it up right where we left off this fall. I have no idea where my life's going to be like that. I say that every time we wrap up a season because like I don't know where things are going to be at. Like as I get older, it's like I don't know. I might even be on vacation at that time. Who the heck really knows? But however, if you're only focusing on the Matlock episode reviews, this is it for now. This was our last episode review for the season, for this quarter, which again it's very saddening. But however, we're not quite done with Matlock just yet. As part of our usual review coverage, next week we will return back at this usual time slot to talk about what I would love to see in Season 2 coming up. That will be our predictions video. That will be live next week. And then the following after that, we will be doing a definitive Season 1 spoiler-free review for you to enjoy. For anyone who has yet to catch up the show, which is now currently available, the entire season on Paramount+. And hopefully on home media down the road. Hopefully. We'll see how we go on that. I think CBS is usually very good at home media releases, so I'll be 100% picking this up when it's cheap. But again, with all that being said, yeah, so if you are going to stay around, I'll see you next week. But if this was it, thank you so much. From the bottom of my heart, I really, really do. I love every community I'm servicing with these reviews. I really, really do. I love you guys so much. But the fact that our Matlock review series started out the highest launch of any review series we've ever done here on ActionX. And we've been doing What's on Tube for nearly 6 years this coming fall. And the fact that we're still breaking the mold there. I thank you so much. I really, really do. I appreciate your support. Thank you for allowing me to be a part of your lives for these last 18 episode reviews. We're not done yet. We still have much more to cover. We'll have more to talk about down the road. But for the time being, again, thank you so, so much. I do appreciate it. I really, really do. But like I said, we will return this fall. I'll see you then. In the time being, enjoy the break. Go watch other shows. Go watch Rookie if you got the time. That's 7 seasons more. You go watch that. Go watch Heels. Go watch Last of Us. There's a lot of great TV out there. It sucks that we're going to be off the air for 5-6 months, but when we come back, we're going to have more story to tell. We're going to have more amazing episodes to review. Hopefully, I have my utmost faith in this showrunner and this team that they're going to deliver us a better season 2 when we come back this fall. But again, enjoy your summer off. Go do something crazy. Go watch other TV shows. I would love to hear about it when we come back in the fall. But again, thank you so much for watching again. Please subscribe if you haven't yet. Like, favorite, share if you want to. Ring that bell and follow social media for more. But until we see each other again, thank you so much for watching. Please stay safe out there. Be good to each other. And as always,